भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायण नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायश्च भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भक्ति नैष्ठिकी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। शिला गुरुदेव महाविष्णु गोसाई महाराज की जय। नामाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री ईशोपनिषद की जय। भगवत गीता जी टीच की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम पुराण की जय। नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण। जय। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for to His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Her Grace Pragya Devi Dasi Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Sparpan Krishna Prabhu for organizing these wonderful programs and giving me chance to share my realizations. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna for the opportunity. So, yes, so we started Mantra 11 last Sunday, and we completed half part one, like half of the purport. So we're going to finish the rest of it today. So I'm going to share my screen. Yes, Prabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna Path Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Are you okay now? Are you all right?
Yes,
Feeling good?
better. Yes, yes.
Better. Okay. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to recite mantra 11, and then we will recite after that. Vidyam ch yas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtava vidyaya mritam ashnute. Vidyam ch yas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtava vidyaya amritam ashnute. Vidyam ch yas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtava vidyaya amritam ashnute. Okay. Hare Krishna Path Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Vidyam cha yas tadvedobhyam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute. Vidyam cha yas tadvedobhyam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute. Vidyam cha yas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute.
Very nice. Thank you. So who's there. Hare Krishna, Soumya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay. Can you?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, I'll sing. Vidyam च यस् तद्वेदो भयां सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतम् अश्नुते विद्यां च यस् तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतम् अश्नुते विद्यां च यस् तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतम् अश्नुते.
Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. Okay. So, is anyone else one wants to recite the verse?
विद्यां च या तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यां मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्यामृतम् अश्नुते विद्यां च या तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यां मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्यायामृतम् अश्नुते.
Okay. All right. So the translation. Only one who can learn the process of science and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So, yeah, this verse talks about Vidya and Avidya. We should learn side by side. And yeah, last Sunday we covered the half of the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That where Srila Prabhupada, I just want to do few points to recap what we covered in the purport in last week. So the first point we covered that we should learn Vidya and Avidya side by side. That's from the translation, it's obvious. And the second is that everyone wants permanent life, but it is impossible by Avidya. Srila Prabhupada talks about that the materialists people, they try to become immortal by Avidya, by this science, the so-called science. They want to prolong their life and all that. And the topmost materialist is Hiranyakashipu. Even he also couldn't do it. And Lord Brahma's life is so big, so long, like 311 trillion, 40 billion years, and still he has to die. So no one is immortal in this material creation. So even Lord Brahma, who created this manifested world, he also has to leave his body. And then we covered that materialist is after only two things, money and women, like Hiranyakashipu. But that takes away everything. So they think this is all in all, this material things. But at the time of death, everything is lost. And next point is that not to make one-sided attempt and think the struggle for existence is all in all. So we don't think like only one side, like, okay, we're doing everything, we're struggling here in this life, and in that struggle, we don't have time. We don't have time for spirituality. We don't have time for anything else. Or this is it. Just I'm taking care of my family, taking care of my things. nicely, and that is all in all. No, that is a wrong approach. And then spirit soul is personal and has spiritual senses and mind, and material body and senses and mind is pervertedly manifested. So spirit soul is not impersonal. It has a senses and mind. So spirit soul is personal. It's not impersonal. So that is also established, and Srila Prabhupada explained it very nicely in that purport. And that's because spirit soul got senses. That's why it's pervertedly manifested in our body, in our material body. And these senses, sense gratification centered. So they always look for sense gratification. And mind is also is contaminated because it's a material mind. So these points we covered in last week. And this week, we start studying the purport from where we left, from here. Yeah. So I need a volunteer who can read that. Hare Krishna Mataji, Somaya Mataji, are you?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Yes, I can read.
Okay, thank you.
Synonyms: Vidyam, knowledge and fact.
No,
Sure.
from there, Mataji. Can you see this?
Translation.
The
Okay.
purport where we left.
Acha, okay. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Acha, okay.
Yeah. This does not mean, yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. This does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from a disease. To make the best use of a bargain is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of the body and mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees, and the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for diseased sense gratification.
Yes.
Human activity.
So we stop here, Mataji. So we'll discuss what's the main points Srila Prabhupada has explained here. So in the previous paragraph, Srila Prabhupada are explaining about the temperature, giving the example of that high fever. If you have a fever, then temperature goes 107, and above that. But here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we should maintain the healthy temperature. We cannot wipe altogether. So you can't make it 0, or you can't make it no temperature. So temperature is needed. So that's 98.6 degrees. The body's temperature should be maintained so body can function properly. So the first point here is that what should we do? Like to maintain that, if the vidya and avidya, how we balance it. So how we go about it. So Srila Prabhupada are saying here that the culture of vidya doesn't mean stopping activities of bodily maintenance. Like you cannot wipe the temperature. So you cannot stop the bodily activities. Srila Prabhupada are using very important term to make the best use of a bad bargain. So this term we should always remember, that best use of the bad bargain. So we got this bad bargain. Why? Because we came here in this, we wanted to come here, and we trapped in this material body. And now we trapped. So we should make best use of it. So it means that, yes, we have stuck in this material situation, which is not favorable to Vidya, but still we should make best use of it by following the process of bhakti and dovetail our activities in devotion service. Actually, good maintenance of our body and mind is required to live peacefully If we are not peaceful, how we can be happy and think about spiritual topics? So this peace is required to cultivate spiritual knowledge. That's why we need to have balance in our life. As Srila Prabhupada are saying that the normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees. Body works okay on this balanced temperature. And temperature goes imbalance when we misuse our senses for too much of sense gratification. Yes, senses require some sense gratification. So we provide the senses those activities like we Krishna Prasad is there, Kirtan is there, festival is there, and other bhakti activities there, preaching activities are there. So these activities we involve senses in there. So senses are satisfied. If people say no, we just stop everything, we're just going to follow the spirituality, we're going in the jungle, it's not practical. We cannot do that in today's world. So there is a reference in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 66 where Krishna talks about this peace and happiness, the peace of mind. So I'll share that. Yeah. So this verse talks about the peace, as Lord Krishna is saying, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya na chayuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayatah shanti asantasya kutah sukham. Translation: one who is not concerned, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? And the point I just want to refer from Prabhupada is that Srila Prabhupada are saying that if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However, much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada are saying here that in the purport that disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal, and which mind is unable to find in material things. Because involvement in material things are always giving us distress and disturbance, because it is temporary, it's changing all the time. So this material world changing all the time. So we want, because the soul is eternal, soul wants something permanent. And because we're not finding it here, our body is changing. We want to stay young all the time, but we can't. We want to change healthy all the time, but disease comes, jara comes, birth, death, old age, and disease. These are four major problems, as Srila Prabhupada explained in the beginning. So these problems are there. So we cannot escape from it, and that's why the distress is there all the time. The nature is temporary of this material world. So we're looking for something permanent. And in another verse, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, there is another verse. It talks about the resolute purpose. So it's a famous verse as well. Vayavasatmika buddhi eke kuru nandana bahushakha hayantascha buddhayo vayavasaina. Translation: those who are in this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So it's Bahu Shakha. So their intelligence is divided. Srila Prabhupada is saying that faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he needs not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he needs no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada are saying here that activities in Krishna consciousness gives us the one ultimate goal, which we are looking for. And um, yeah, and our intelligence becomes, yeah, otherwise, if we don't have this, then our intelligence becomes bahushaka. It's many branched. So for peace and happiness, we need to dovetail in Krishna consciousness activities in our life. So this is balanced approach because we born into this material body. So we have to learn bodily science or knee science to maintain healthy body and mind. But to know that it is not all in all is vidya. So it's two uh, separate things. So we of course we need to do activities, maintain our body, but think that this is all in all is avidya. So we need to go above that. We need to sharpen our intelligence. So that's where here Srila Prabhupada talks about in this para in the purport. Yeah. So is there any question so far from here on these points?
No, Prabhuji.
Oh, no worries. All right. So we'll read further. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Can you? Yeah.
Human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation. This system employs religion, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. But at the present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life: sense gratification. And in order to achieve this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. But this is not the purpose of religion. The path of religion is actually meant for self realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize Vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for cultivating avidya for sense gratification.
Yeah. So yeah, here Srila Prabhupada are explaining that in today's civilization, what's the situation here in today's civilization, that there are principles of salvation in Vedas, and they are famous principles. So it's four principles. First is dharma, religion, and then artha, economic development, and then kam, sense gratification, and then moksha, salvation. So human activities were regulated in these four ways. But misguided people thinks that religion contribute to economic development, which is required for sense gratification, and further guaranteeing heavenly sense gratification by following religious principles. So the center becomes the sense gratification rather than the salvation. So those four in Vedas, we have like dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. But in this current civilization, everything is centered the kam, the sense gratification. So there is no salvation in today's niche science culture. And Srila Prabhupada are mentioning that the path of religion is meant for self-regulation, and economic development is required just to maintain healthy body and sound mind. So we can understand Vidya, the spiritual knowledge. Actually, the spiritual topics and the books, when we study, it requires a certain amount of peace of mind, some calmness, some it's not much disturbance. And if that disturbance and calmness, sorry, that disturbance is there, then we won't be able to understand these spiritual topics. That's why this system was there, that economic development, like in the olden days, like in agriculture also, they used to grow not whole year around, they used to work in the fields, then grow the grains, and then grains comes, and then 3 4 months of is is um, is no work, especially the Chaturmas. But now the whole year around we have to work like an ass, and every day we have to go to job, and whole system is ruined. Whole system is different now. So we don't have that space. Sorry, we don't have that time now. So we have to snatch time every day, as Srila Gurudev says. So we have to snatch time every day, and we have to retire every day. So every day we study books, Srila Prabhupada books. So there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. It talks about these things. So I just want to refer those. Yeah. So it's, first verse says, Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho artha अर्थयोपक अकल्पते नार्थस्य धर्मैकान्तस्य कामो लाभाय हि स्मृतिः. Translation: all occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So it's clearly mentioned that all our occupational engagements, everything what we have, our duties, are certainly meant for ultimate liberation, salvation. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we have already discussed that pure devotional service to the Lord is automatically followed by perfect knowledge and detachment from material existence. But there are others who consider that all kinds of different occupational engagements, including those of religion, are meant for material gain. The general tendency of any ordinary man in any part of the world is to gain some material profit in exchange for religious or any other occupational service. Even in the Vedic literatures, for all sorts of religious performances, an allurement of material gain is offered, and most people are attracted by such allurements or blessings of religiosity. Why are such so-called men of religion allured by material gain? Because material gain can enable one to fulfill desires, which in turn satisfies sense gratification. So this cycle of occupational engagements includes so-called religiosity, followed by material gain, and material gain followed by fulfillment of desires. Sense gratification is the general way for all sorts of fully occupied men. But In the statement of Sutta Goswami, as per the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam, this is nullified by the present shloka. So in this shloka, or this verse, it is nullified. So it is because every religious ceremonies, or what we generally, as Srila Prabhupada said, that generally people do something in the gain of something, okay, we want to perform this yagna, we want to perform this puja, or we want to do this, even the religious activities, yes, like this. So they want to gain something. So this is a general tendency. And but here in this verse, it says that the occupational duties or occupational responsibilities are not meant for uh, sense gratification. They are meant for the salvation, or meant for the higher purpose. And the next verse of it, number 10, says, Kamasya nanandriya pratir labho jivet yavata जीवस्य तत्व जिज्ञासा नार्थो यश्चेह कर्म भी. Translation: life's desire should never be directed toward sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservance. Since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth, nothing else should be the goal of one's works. And Srila Prabhupada saying that the completely bewildered material civilization is wrongly directed towards the fulfillment of desires in sense gratification. In such civilization, in all spheres of life, the ultimate end is sense gratification. In politics, social service, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religion, or even in salvation, the very same tint of sense gratification is ever increasingly predominant. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their personal sense gratification. The voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification. As soon as the voters are dissatisfied in their own sense gratification, they dethrone the leaders. The leaders must always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. The same is applicable in all other fields. No one is serious about the problems of life. Even those who are on the path of salvation desire to become one with the absolute truth and desire to commit spiritual suicide for sense gratification. But the Bhagavatam says that one should not live for sense gratification. One should satisfy the senses only in so much as required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification, because the body is made of senses which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. There are regulative directions for satisfaction of such senses, but the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. For example, marriage or the combination of the man with a woman is necessary for progeny, but it is not meant for sense enjoyment. In the absence of voluntary restraint, there is propaganda for family planning. But foolish men do not know that family planning is automatically executed as soon as there is search after the absolute truth. Seekers of the absolute truth are never allured by unnecessary engagements in sense gratification, because the serious student seeking the absolute truth are always overwhelmed with the work of researching the truth. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth, and that sort of engagement will make one happy, because he will be less engaged in the varieties of sense gratification. So here, Srila Prabhupada are mentioning very good points about sense gratification. That yes, in the end, Srila Prabhupada are saying that we need some sort of satisfying our senses, but we shouldn't involve our senses in sense gratification activities all the time. And there is in the first verse, I forgot to mention, in the first verse there is the word is apavargasya. In previously we have discussed about this pavarg. What is pavarg? Like in Devanagari script there is a pavarg. So there are 5 letters, and we have discussed this, but I'll just go through again. So it is pa, fa, ba, bha, and ma. So pa is parishram, hard work, and fa is foaming. So after hard work, foam comes from the mouth, and ba means where tita or frustration. In spite of the hard work, there is frustration. So always frustrated because it's not although we're doing very, very hard work, but we're not achieving something. So bha means bhaya, fearfulness. There is constant fear of losing things, constant fear of uh, not getting success, all this. And then ma means mrityu, death. And in the end, death takes away everything. So in spite of hard labor, frustration, constant fear, cannot stop death. So this is power. And apavargasya is the opposite to that. So which is so that is opposite to power, apavargasya. So next in the next verse that we Srila Prabhupada were explaining that one should satisfy the senses only so much, so it requires a self-preservance. Body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. And there are regulative directions for sense gratification. So senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. So that is the another main point. So although we require, but it shouldn't be unrestricted. Anything unrestricted is going to be problem. Even in the material world, we see all the rules and regulation, all the laws by the state and everything. It's for restricting everyone. But because of the restrictions, everyone is free. If those restrictions are not there, it will be chaotic. Everybody chaos, and people will, it's no civilization. So restrictions are needed. They are, by looking at it, like it's look like, oh, I don't want to be restricted, I'm free. But we are not free. So that is the main point also we need to understand. So we are not independent, we are dependent. Okay, so so we'll read the last para now. So sorry, before we go next, if any questions so far, or any points needs further clarification on what we discussed? Hare Krishna. Is it all clear, Prabhuji and Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Right. So, so we are here. Yes, Mataji, can you see that?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead. The absolute truth is realized by the broad-minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of the Bhagavad Gita described in the purport to Mantra 10. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service to the Lord. The guaranteed path to the aim of Vidya is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the nectar of devotion. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 14th verse, in the following words. तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पति श्रोतव्यकीर्तितव्यश्च तेयपूज्यश्च नित्यदा.
Very nice.
Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are all simply different forms of nescience, as Sri Isopanishad indicates in the following mantras.
Yes. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here in the end, Srila Prabhupada are saying that the absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagwan. And the absolute truth is realized by broad-minded man who attained the knowledge and detachment by the following 18 principles of Bhagavad Gita. So this is, we already discussed that. His Grace Shital Prabhu explained those points, and we talked about Dhira person. He's a broad-minded person. So who is broad-minded man? In previous mantra that we studied, that who's following these 18 principles from humility to realization of the Lord. By following these principles, we become broad-minded and dhira. And this is required to learn this art of devotion service. Actually, Srila Prabhupada talks about this is an art. So we have to learn this art. We have to cultivate this. It's not automatically just come. Yes, we all have dormant love of Godhead, but we have to revive that. We have to learn that art. So the main point here is that these salvation principles and of the Vedas and becoming dhira is to make us progress towards the devotion service. The main purpose is to attain devotion service by learning Vidya and Avidya side by side. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 14, where the four processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshipping, and general occupations. So in modern world, these also used in propagating the propaganda through the TVs and newspaper and internet by different politicians, actors, and other leaders. But this is the example of nescience. And same four processes employed in devotion service by glorifying the Lord, hearing about the Lord, and remembering, the Lord and worshipping Krishna. So that gives the permanent effects. And for that, we can use this nescience means like these, whatever we have, like internet, like we're using now, internet, we're using, newspaper or many other ways. So so this is an art. So doesn't mean that avidya is, although avidya is there, we have to learn it. We have to survive in this world. And we all study in the school. We already, gain the qualifications to maintain or to survive in the society. But the very important point that this is not all in all. We have to learn avidya and avidya. So vidya is very important. The spiritual knowledge is very, very important. That gives us this knowledge, gives us this understanding, intelligence, that this is not all in all. This is, we need to use these means to achieve our ultimate goal. The ultimate goal that Srila Prabhupada talks about is missing, in this material world. That's why we get frustrated, we get distressed, we get tension, anxiety, because it's changing, everything changing. So we cannot make permanent plans here to survive. And yeah, so this is the final points from Srila Prabhupada's purpose that that I have realized. So is any questions or clarification needed by from this purport or what we discussed today or even last week? No. Okay, so we have some time, so I think we should recite the verse again and translation, because this mantra is important. Yeah. So verse, I'll do that first. Vidyam cha ya tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtava vidyayamritam ashnute. Vidyam cha ya tadvedo bhayam saha avidyayamritam, sorry, avidyaya mrityum tirtava vidyaya amritam ashnute. Yes, Prabhuji.
विद्यां च यस् तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते विद्यां च यस् तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्यायामृतमश्नुते विद्यां च यस्तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्यायामृतमश्नुते.
Thank you. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, sir. विद्यां च तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते विद्यां च यस्तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते विद्यां च तद्वेदो भयं सः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते.
Okay, and the translation. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So, yeah, so we understood that side by side is very important. We cannot have peace of mind or those what you call the situation where we can cultivate vidya if we we lack in one of that. And that is an art, actually. This is an art, as Srila Prabhupada said, that we have to learn this art. So we cannot, yeah. Okay, so I think we'll stop here. It's still got 8 minutes left. So I'll ask His Grace Amrish Prabhu what we should do now, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think Prabhuji is not there. So, so we'll wait for, yeah, we'll
Hello,
wait for
Prabhu.
statements. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Tell me, you're waiting for me?
Yes,
I'm
Prabhuji.
waiting for
So
you.
still 7 minutes left. So we concluded the mantra 11, Prabhuji.
Okay, we can conclude now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so we can have a break for 7 minutes and we'll come back. Okay.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.